So in this video, we're going to be covering the setup and install of the mini RWIS weather stations. This installation and setup process is like two steps. One is to set everything up and make sure it's working for at least 24 hours. And second is to actually install it on site. This video is primarily going to cover everything you need to do before you actually mount it on site. So first, we're going to start with the tools that you're going to need. So a drill. This is for some of our self-tappers, a couple of screwdrivers, a 1/2 inch or similar wrench, and a 7/16 or similar wrench. Again, voltmeter is also optional in the event you run into a problem. Now let's take a quick look at what we've got in the box. So we're going to start. So we've got 5 straps, total of 5 for a single head camera is going to be 5. We can get 5 of these mounting brackets with the nuts, 1 of these hex bits for these straps. So this comes in the box. We're going to have a camera mount. We're going to have 2 T-brackets with 4 large self-tappers. There are some smaller self-tappers in there as well, but we make sure that the T-brackets should have 4 large self-tappers. And then we're going to have a PVC box with a bunch of sensors and connectors. And there should be a camera head and a solar panel with 3 additional mounting brackets. So there is this large mounting bracket, there is the back support bracket, and the top support bracket. This also comes with some additional hardware. There are 5 or 6 self-tappers with washers. These are smaller than these self-tappers. And there are these nuts, bolts, and lock washers, 2 sets, 1 for this top bracket, 1 for the bottom bracket. And then we've got the bottom bracket, and that's pretty much it. Now let's just very quickly look at some of the assembly before we actually go ahead and test the electronics. Since we're looking at the solar panel, let's just start with this. So we've got a base bracket that holds the solar panel. The smaller self-tappers, again, feel free to use an electric drill. Go in 2 on the top, 2 at the bottom, and 1 over here at the bottom side. So this should nicely secure the panel. Just for additional protection, we've got this top bracket as well that you can use another self-tapper to kind of secure the center solar panel from the top. Just make sure that it's mounted like so with both brackets the same way. In case you're wondering why you need this back bracket, so we're going to be supporting this from 2 sides, 1 from the top and 1 from the bottom here, using these clips. So that's why we need this bracket. And there is a slight adjustment here in the event that the surface that you're actually installing these on is not exactly flat. So there's a little bit of adjustment. But yeah, so solar panel is very simple to do. The only thing you want to be careful about is not to unscrew any of these screws. Since they're self-tappers, you don't want to remove them because then it kind of loses integrity. If you ever have to do that, then just adjust the bracket a little bit to the left or the right, and then do this process again. And just be wary of the junction box here, because if the junction box ends up being on the other side, then you might not be able to access this nut and this bolt here. So once that is done, we're going to mount the 2 what we call T-brackets to the back of the RWIS box. Do not use an electric drill for this. Screwdrivers should be fine. We don't want to damage the threads. Again, like with everything self-tapping, once you've put these on, you don't want to take them off. The 2 T-brackets, both of them are the same, so one's not longer or shorter than the other. So that should be as far as the prep of the box goes. Next step would be for us to do some basic testing and make sure that the unit is working before you actually leave it for a full day and just let it do its full cycle. So to do the testing, first thing we're going to do is we're going to install the camera head. This is camera 1. This is camera 2. This port is auxiliary, which is for pavement temperature pucks. And this port is for our solar charger. If you've got a single-headed unit, then these ports are not interchangeable. Single-headed units, you must plug into camera 1. Dual-headed units that are configured for 2 heads, you can use both ports. But single-headed, you must plug this into camera 1. Here's our air and relative humidity sensor. We're just going to look at how to install this properly in a second. This is our infrared pavement sensor. We'll talk about that in a second as well. But once you've got the basics all plugged in, let's take a look at what's inside the box. So inside the box, we've got a circuit board with a couple of antennas. Yours is not going to be covered. We've got some serial numbers on this that we'd rather not share on the internet, so that's why we've got some cover here. But first thing you got to do is just make sure that all the wires and everything's plugged in properly. And pay attention when you're closing this lid, because these wires can sometimes get pinched in the gasket here. If that happens, as you can judge by the size of the wires, they're going to get pinched and damaged permanently. So we want to make sure we don't do that. And then we've got the battery, some connections here, just components wise. You've got the harness going in. There is a connector, the bottom connector, that connects the solar panel to the solar charge controller, and then a wiring harness that goes behind the battery and connects everything, the power to the battery. First step would be to just plug the battery in. There's foam padding everywhere to keep the battery from moving. Second step would be to just adjust your infrared, relative humidity sensor. So there is a screw here, just loosen it a bit, extend it out so that at least the metal mesh is as exposed as possible. So just adjust as needed. And next step would be for us to, now that the box is prepped, quickly test it out. So to test it out, first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn the unit on. You should see some lights blink. At this point, we just want to make sure that everything's connected properly and working. So for that, you're going to need any Android or iPhone. Just go to your Wi-Fi settings and you will see Cameo or RWIS, a Wi-Fi hotspot with that name. It would be Cameo or RWIS, followed by the serial number of your unit. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect to that. It will warn you that this connection does not have internet. Regardless, say accept or connect. So I'm just going to say connect this time. Once it's connected, we're going to open up Google Chrome or Safari, and we're going to open up this web page 192.168.4.1 on your phone. You could do it on a computer as well, but phone's fine. So once your web page is loaded, we're just going to look at a couple of things here, just diagnostics wise. So first thing I do is just test network. This should take about 30 to 45 seconds. And all we're looking to do is see if you've got a good network connection. Since we've shipped these cameras to you, it might take a couple of attempts to get this to work. But once you've got a good network connection, you will see success here. That means the SIM card's active, everything's good to go. Next thing we can do is we're just going to quickly test the camera. So make sure the camera is plugged in properly. And we're going to test the snapshot button. This should take about 30 to 45 seconds and get us a picture of the camera. The de-ice button essentially would turn on the heater on the unit itself. We don't have to use it, but in the event if you're having trouble with the de-icer, you can always hit the de-ice button and it will heat up the lens at the front here. So it's a very easy way to test your de-icer. Then we've got a sensor section here. So we're just going to hit update sensor temperature data. That should get us our air temperature, our pavement temperature, and some other information. The emissivity piece, you don't have to really worry about. In the event that you have to adjust this, there's going to be another video that covers calibrating your temperature sensor, the infrared temperature sensor. So, but for now, we don't have to worry about it. And lastly, it's a good idea to just test your solar panel. Of course, since I'm indoors, connecting the solar panel isn't going to do anything. But if you were outdoors and you were to hook up the solar panel, you will see that the battery voltage should jump a little bit. So if I look at the battery voltage now, It's showing up as 12.8 volts, which is a fully charged battery. So we're not expecting a huge jump. But if I plug the solar panel in just for demonstration, we will see that the battery voltage will eventually jump a little bit. So this means your solar circuit's working. Of course, this part you won't be able to test indoors. You're going to have to test it outdoors. There's two ways to test. One is to just monitor the voltage here, and the other is to monitor the status of this tiny little LED that is on this charge controller here. It will start blinking once the solar panel is connected and this thing's working. So it'll start blinking. That should indicate that your solar panel is hooked up correctly. So now that this is done and the network's working, the temperatures look okay, what we want to do next is we just want to hit the restart button. And at this point, the unit is going to turn off its Wi-Fi hotspot. And the Wi-Fi hotspot will not turn back on. So to turn the Wi-Fi hotspot back on, if you want to test this again, you're going to have to turn the switch to the off position and then turn it back on. So now, since we've hit the restart button, the unit's actually going into its regular cycle. It's going to take a picture, it's going to do a temperature reading, etc., and that's going to send it to the portal, and it's going to keep doing that from now on. So at this point, it'd be a good idea to just log on to the portal. You should have your login and password. If you don't, send us this serial number, and we should be able to add this unit to your account and get you your login and your password. At this point, you want to log into the portal and just see if you've got pictures from it. Now, at this point, since we've tested all the hardware and everything seems to work, we're going to carefully, without pinching any of these wires, we're going to close this lid and place the unit outside overnight for at least 24 hours with the solar panel connected. What we want to do is make sure that the unit is sending pictures consistently and the solar panel is actually charging the unit during the day as well. So the solar panel should not be placed like this. It should not be placed under a tree somewhere. We want it so that it gets at least good straight sunlight for at least a couple of hours. And we want to monitor that for a 24-hour cycle. So after 24 hours, when you've monitored the unit, it works good. It is now ready for install. And we're going to cover that process in the next video. At any point, if you want to test this again, after 24 hours, see if something didn't work correctly, just open the lid, turn the unit off, back on, fire up the app, 192.168.4.1, and you should then be able to diagnose this again. If you're running into issues, give us a call, and we'll be able to help you through it. So next steps are going to be to mount everything on a post, and we're going to cover that in the next video.